page 4. I go for refuge and turn enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations of practice of healing, so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge and turn enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations of practice of healing, so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge and turn enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By my accumulations of practice of healing, so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye Jura Soge Chakshu Padu Dhammi Kyaso Che Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonangi Dola Benchi Sangye Rupa Shu Sangye Jura Soge Chakshu Padu Dhammi Kyaso Che Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonangi Dola Benchi Sangye Rupa Shu Sangye Jura Chakshu Padu Dhammi Kyaso Che Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonangi Dola Benchi Sangye Rupa Shu. The next page, essence of the Contaminated mantra. Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Hetum Desham Bhagavato Yavadat Desham Chayo Niroda Where we left yesterday was we are talking about the renunciation. To renounce the miseries, we need to know how to renounce the causes of the miseries. And if you look at the people, you see that some people, when the same problem we face, some people they try to deal with the problem directly, and others will try to deal with the causes of the problem. So those people who just look to the effect of the problem and try to deal with that directly, these are not wise. Wise people will track the cause and deal with the cause and fix the problem very meaningfully and effectively. So likewise, this mantra is precious Ye Dharma mantra. Ye Dharma, in praise, the mantra of dependent origination. Tentelingo mantra. This is so precious in ways of being very practical, in ways of being using the common sense, where we need to build the habit of looking for the cause of a problem and deal with the cause of a problem so the problem will be over. So this practical advice is and okay, so with this, then we talked about say what are the causes of the miseries? Ye dharma hetu prabhava. These phenomena, particularly the phenomena of suffering, they arise from the causes. So what are the causes? So we learned in great detail yesterday about the contaminated karmas, afflictions, and then the inappropriate attention and the self-grasping ignorance. So these are layers of the causes responsible giving rise to this suffering. So now what we need to mind is that to really achieve the state of the fearlessness, achieve the state of the total freedom from liberation from suffering. For that matter, we have to eradicate the root, that is the self-grasping ignorance. But what we learned yesterday was that self-grasping ignorance of the four causes, four layers of the causes, in some cases people talk about only two layers of causes, which is contaminated karmas and afflictions. And what we learned in great detail from what is presented by Arjuna in his text on the Mula Madhyamika Karika, or the fundamentalism in the middle way. So there, Arjuna enumerated 5 causes. Of the 5 causes, yesterday what we learned was that the first 3, contaminated karmas, gross afflictions, and the inappropriate attention, these 3 somehow we can identify. We may not be able to identify some forms, but we can identify them in the gross forms. Like contaminated karmas, we know that what we're doing is not good. Physical, verbal, or mental actions. And then the third plus the afflictions, gross afflictions, such as attachment, aversion, so forth. We know that they are not really good. And then the inappropriate attention, how we exaggerate the qualities of the object, this also we know. And then finally, the self-grasping ignorance. This is something which we cannot identify. Okay, this is what we learned yesterday. Now, if you really want to identify and eradicate the root, first we must have to have some experience of cleansing, removing the earlier, the grosser causes. This is what we have to try best. The first one is contaminated karmas, particularly the negative contaminated karmas. Contaminated karmas are of 2 kinds, negative and positive. Let us not forget this. Contaminated karmas. In the first place, karma is 2 kinds, contaminated and uncontaminated. In the first place, karma is of 2 kinds, contaminated and uncontaminated. The distinction between these 2 things is contaminated karmas are those karmas which will trap us into samsara. And the uncontaminated karmas are the karmas which will eject us away from samsara. Karmas related to nirvana and Buddhahood, whereas the contaminated karmas are the karmas which trap us in samsara. Let's not forget this. Then, within the contaminated karmas, there are 2, negative and positive. Positive contaminated karmas and negative contaminated karmas. And some people, they think the contaminated karmas means negative karmas. It's not necessary. Contaminated karmas can be positive or negative. For example, say any positive karma, any positive actions that we engage in without the wisdom of emptiness. Any karmas that we engage in without the wisdom of emptiness is known as contaminated karmas. For example, generosity. Without experience of emptiness, if you engage in generosity, there is a contaminated karma. A karma, positive karma, which is mixed with the contamination of misperceiving things to be objectively real. Okay. Now the contaminated karmas, particularly the negative karmas, negative contaminated karmas, we must take actions. We must try our best to get rid of these negative karmas to the best we can. And the negative karmas, to get rid of negative karmas, 2. 1, the negative karmas which we already did in our past lives, or within this life also. Negative karmas which we already did, number 1. Number 2 is negative karmas which otherwise would bound to arise in the future. Two, which we are on the bound, which we are on the verge to, or we are bound to engage in. Two, one of the past, one of the present, and the future. One of the past, we can't do much. Only thing is we engage in the purification practice, and with the four powers to purify the negativities. Okay, if you are interested, later on, maybe somewhere closer towards the end of the retreat, we can do what these four powers are. If you're interested, you can make note of that to remind me later. Okay, so the past negative karmas, see how much we can regret the past negative karmas. And what is bound to be done now and in the future, these you have the control. You have the control to undo the negative karma, that is the positive karma. Undoing the negative karma is a positive karma. So, see that, for example, you're on the verge to say harsh words to your parents, harsh words to your children, harsh words to your husband, towards your wife, and so forth. Control it. This is what we can control. That you're bound to do now, or you're bound to do in the future, this we can control. These we must do. So for that matter, how many such negative karmas can be there which we need to purify, or which we need to stop engaging in? There are millions and trillions, but practically speaking, to make it very easy for us to comprehend, these 10 non-virtuous karmas are indicated, and if you can refrain from 10 non-virtuous karmas, that's good enough to refrain from the negative karmas. So 10 negative karmas, the 10 non-virtuous karmas, see how to identify them in the first place. Having identified them, see how much you can refrain from these negative karmas. This is so important. It's not that today we learn about it, tomorrow we become completely pure. No, don't expect that. But at least from our side, we try our best with the contaminated karmas, physical and verbal, the negative karmas, we can actually avoid them greatly. We can, physical and verbal, but mental is more difficult. So, total 10 non-virtuous karmas, 3 physical, 4 verbal, and 3 mental. We have to identify what they are and try our best to stay away from the negative karmas, and mentally build the resilience, build the power of the mind, willpower to stay away from these negative karmas. Okay, 3 physical: killing, stealing, sexual misconduct. Just see how much, I don't want to go into detail with this, just see how much we can refrain from these 3 physical actions: killing, stealing, sexual misconduct. Killing includes, the main killing includes killing human beings, that of course we will not do. And killing the bigger animals, we will not do. Unlike the insects, these things can happen. Just see how much we can refrain from killing the insects and so forth, like the mosquitoes, the just treading on the ants, the tiny insect on the floor, on the road. So this we have to try our best to stay away from the harming those animals. Killing and stealing. Okay, stealing, let's say deliberately going out to steal things. Of course, people who are coming here will not do that. But then there's a chance of what do you call it? Running away from paying the taxes, running away, evading the tax, and so forth. So this we should be very careful. So if the government says that you should pay tax, you have to pay tax. If you don't pay tax, it's a form of stealing. So these are things that we need to keep in mind. Extremely important. Then number 3, sexual misconduct. So for that, the best book that I would suggest you is read the Lama Tsongkhapa's first volume. Lama Tsongkhapa's 3 volumes are there, 3 Lamrim. The great treatise on the stages of how to enlighten. There are 2 volumes in English. They read the first one. Then in detail you will see what constitutes the sexual misconduct. So all these things we have to see. Final point is that with these the word, the negative karmas, and they're all driven by thought process. All these actions are driven by the thought process. Thought process, they become addicted. So these negative thought processes, we should undo them by refraining from the physical and verbal, the negative actions. Okay, and then the four verbal, telling lies, and then say the slandering. Then number 3 is harsh words. Number 4 is gossip. Telling lies. There's a tendency for us to tell lies, and then in some cases just to make fun or to create a joke, to tell lies. So the point is that even for the sake of joke, seeing how to refrain from telling lies. Oftentimes, if you don't tell lies, then the joke doesn't come. So this is where we can look for ways and means, acquire skills whereby we can crack jokes without necessarily telling lies. Okay. So this is one thing, telling lies. And then number 2 is, and then it's very strange. In some places, it becomes the social habit of telling lies. So, for example, say somebody is expecting you to come from your house to meet somewhere, office work, whatever, and then you are still at home, and a person calls you, where are you? And then you say that I'm on my way, right? I'm already somewhere there. I'm already close by. Okay, so these is just unnecessary. Very unnecessary. If you really want to make the other person feel more comfortable, you can say that yes, I'm almost setting off. That's true. And then don't stay for another 1 hour. When you say I'm almost setting off, then you almost set off, right? And you tell quickly, then leave. Don't tell lies. Okay, this is what we have to try to do. This is so important. Why I'm saying this is that because my uncle, my brother, my father's brother, he was with me, and one of my cousins, my uncle's nephew, he was waiting for him, my nephew, to come to cook food for 2 of us. And it was already time for lunch, and still the nephew was not there. So I said, okay, uncle, 2 of us, we have to do something. I'll start cooking. He said, no, he will come. I said, no, until you call him, he will not come. So he said, okay, give him the phone. I gave him the phone, and then he called. Where are you? Believe it or not, answer that he gave was that I'm buying vegetables, I'm on my way. Which means it's just like about 5 minutes. And then it took him whole 1 hour. 1 hour. So before it's all about half an hour, I told my uncle again, okay, don't just believe, now I'll prepare the food. So we started cooking food. Then my cousin, he came only after 1 hour. Then I told him that, how come that you did not tell us the truth? And where were you, tell me, when you received the call? He said that he was swimming. He was swimming in the middle of the swimming. And he said that I'm already on the vegetable market, buying vegetables and coming. Unnecessary lies. These are all unnecessary. It becomes habit. And with this habit, the outcome in the future is that in future, some people, you say something, people take it very seriously. Some people, even if you tell the truth, nobody will take it seriously. Because you have accumulated previous karma of telling lies towards others. Okay. Then next is slandering. Slandering meaning splitting 2 people, creating division between 2 people. So that is an acute negative karma. So the point is, if you don't like person A, person A and B, these two are friends, you try to split the two. That is slandering. So the point is that whether you are friendly or not, this is a different story. But why do we have to split between these two people? This is the common people, ordinary people's thinking. So this is what we need to really keep in mind. Otherwise, this negative karma is very heavy. In future lifetimes, you will never have good friends around you. If they say you and your husband, you and your wife, you and your children are going to be split in the future lifetimes, these are the consequences of the negative karma of slandering. Okay, then the next one is harsh words. Harsh words. Using harsh words is most commonly happening towards your parents. Towards your parents. So therefore, it's so important to make sure that we don't use harsh words, particularly say okay, because the parents, they love you so much in this world, whether they accept it or not. In this world, the parents, they love you the most, and particularly your mother loves you the most. And then because mother loves you the most, and you also love the mother so much, you take for granted the mother's love. And then, for small reasons, you just show anger. For small reasons, you just use harsh words against your parents, and particularly your mother. So this is something which is unnecessary. In most likelihood, the people using harsh words against your colleagues is much less, because you know the consequence. Once you use the harsh words, next time you go to the work, you feel unhappy to see the person, because there's a guilt there within you. You use the harsh words with the other person. How can I expect the other person to smile at you after you having used harsh words against the person? So therefore, we are aware of these things, and then the other person will not say that, okay, sorry, will not say that. So you know that it's not easy. So once you say this, and then you know that it's not going to be. But for your parents, even if you say harsh words today, tomorrow your parents will easily forgive you, embrace you, all out of love. But the world, they will not love you the way your parents love you. So therefore, it's so important that we avoid harsh words. First step is avoid harsh words against your parents. And but in the West, they say the love for the children is just amazing. The love for the parents is not so much. Then your children will have their own children, and then will have whole attention, love will be directed towards his or her child, and not towards you. And you have given everything for a child. Everything, time, energy, resources, everything for a child. And your child has a child, whole focus will be there on their child, and you are just nothing. This is the dilemma, greatest of the dilemma. And what we can see is also like how the young parents, they invest everything on the child. It's as well like this child is going to take care of the parents in the future. No way. You're going to be like just alien. The moment this child is going to have his or her own child. This is what I've seen with my own eyes. So now, particularly looking for a very genuine happiness, looking for fearlessness, looking for infinite happiness. How we lead life, particularly, for example, today in today's world, modern world, this is how we are following the dictate of the Charles Darwin's evolutionary theory. Charles Darwin's evolutionary theory, parents are nothing. Parents, their job is to produce you and to take care of you, to give the maximum to you, and your job is to take care of your children, and you don't have to take care of your parents. Your children will not take care of you. This is their job, to take care of their own children. This is Charles Darwin's evolutionary theory. So this is exactly what is known as the animal instinct. Whereas the Buddha said it very different. While we do follow the instincts, at the same time,
we have a brilliant mind, which has a capacity to achieve what you seek. What you seek is fearlessness. What you seek is infinite happiness. According to Charles Darwin's evolutionary theory, these two cannot be achieved at all. But the Buddha said this is achievable. You have the incredibly great asset to achieve these two. That is a brilliant mind. You have it. So with this brilliant mind, let us not flow our mind according to the conventional instinct, the way Charles Darwin said. Let us not waste our mind, flow like this. Let us revolutionize our thinking to the extent that we, each one of us, we become happier and happier. According to Charles Darwin's evolutionary theory, when you are young, very young, somebody is taking care of you completely. And then as you become more independent, adolescent, young adult, then become old, your job is done, who cares? This is Charles Darwin's evolutionary theory. Right? So then, yet, it is not that as we grow older, you become age 50, 60, 70, 80. Okay, yes, now my job is done. Even if people neglect me, my job is done. I'm a part of evolutionary theory. My job is done. Okay, now people neglect me, it's fine. Okay, I'm just like a garbage. If we think like this, that's fine. But we don't think like this. Still, we have a sense of I'm important. I'm very important. How dare somebody bullies me? How dare somebody abuses me? This feeling is so strong within us. This mind, the Buddha said, that is very important. We must respect that. We must respect that. So to respect that, our thinking should transcend what Charles Darwin's evolutionary theory dictates. That with this mind, that I don't want to suffer. Even if I'm to die today, say I'm physically so disabled, I'm bedridden, but still I don't want to die. According to Charles Darwin's theory, you are just absolute now. You have time to go. But this mind, for me, I'm the most important thing in this world. I should not die. I don't want to die. This is the basic human thinking. So therefore, this is where the Buddha addresses. Buddha said that this thinking is so precious. You are important. Even if you are dying today, you are very important. It's not that you are obsolete. It's not that you are irrelevant. You are relevant. You are very important. This is Buddha's the thinking. So on this basis, saying how the current modern world is flowing, not taking care of the parents. So much focus on the children. So much focus on the children. There's nothing wrong in focusing on children. But at the same time, neglecting the parents, this is where we are going wrong. We become like animals. We become like animals. This is exactly what Charles Darwin's evolutionary theory said. So therefore, it's so important for us, not for your parents, for your own happiness. This is what the Buddha is saying. For your own happiness. For you to experience the fearlessness. For you to experience the infinite happiness, you have to learn how to love your parents. So, what we are talking about is the 4 verbal negative karmas. One is the harsh words. Harsh words. See how much you can refrain from using harsh words towards your parents, particularly your mother. What happened? How the parents love you so much, particularly how the mother loves you so much. I'll share a story with you. It's not just a story, it's a real, like the real incident. In Mumbai, there was my host family there. Whenever I visit, this family is so warm, so kind. They always host my stay there in Mumbai. One time, the whole family was to visit Delhi. Then of course, it is my moral responsibility to invite them to my place. And for the father, mother, and 3 daughters. 3 daughters is very easy. The father is very easy. Complications with the mother. So for the mother, I went to her separately to extend the invitation. I said that, okay, your family is coming to Delhi and I'd like to invite you to my place. I told mother. And the mother said, Geshe, I have this problem, that problem, which means she's not coming to my house. I have this problem, I have this pain, it's very cold. I know how to make it easy, I know how to make it happen. Very easy. Why I went to extend the invitation to her, separate invitation to her, was out of my respect. Just out of my respect, I went to her. And I was expecting the reply from her. And I know how to make it happen. I told her that, okay, you are all the way, in any ways you are coming all the way from Mumbai to Delhi, far away. And Delhi, within that Delhi, where you are staying at my place, is just few minutes. You can come. No, I have this problem, that problem. I know what problem is. So I said, okay. Then I went to the eldest daughter. I know how to make it happen. I went to the eldest daughter. I told her, hey, you're all coming to Delhi, but your mother is not coming to my place. She said, no, all of us will come to your house. We all will come to your house. I said, no, I told her personally. She said, I have this problem, that problem. She said, no, we all come. I said, no, but I told her right now. She said, Mom. The mother said, yes. And then she said, you know that when we are in Delhi, we are all going to Vishala's house? Then the mother said, yes. Very easy to make it happen. Why I could not persuade her, and why the daughter said we are going there? She said yes. Why? Because of her sheer love for the daughter. Because of the sheer love. This is how much the parents love us. Even though we become old, even though we are already 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, the parents still love you. But we don't know that how much the parents love us. At one point, okay, this is actually the topic more to discuss with the Bodhicitta part, but here also I can share this. One point, there was one lady. She was already in her 40s, late 40s, with 2 children, grown-up children. And the lady's 2 parents, very elderly parents, they were no more working now. Whatever savings they had, knowing that their daughter, who is now in 40s, with 2 children, grown-up children, the 2 grandchildren, this daughter was struggling with her life. The 2 parents, very elderly, whatever savings they had of their life, imagine. It's not just, a very young daughter, age 5, age 10, no. Already 40 years, the mid-40s. So what they did, seeing that the daughter was going through so much of struggle, whatever investment savings they had, they bought a house from the saving. And I don't know how they're going to survive the next few years that they're going to live. They were already in the, I think, if not 80s, they were already in their 70s. And they were not from a very humble family. Whatever savings they had, they bought a house for the daughter who was already in 40s. Just imagine. It's all coming out of love of the parents. The parents are old. The child is already grown up. Still the parents love you. Right? The way you love your own child, the way you love your own children, the parents love you so much. Okay, so this is what we need to keep in mind. The one who loves you so much, how come that we are going to abuse them with harsh words? Of course, you are not doing that out of anger. This is, of course, you also have a tremendous love towards your parents, but that feel of love towards your parents, this has become more like it is like a very intense imprint that we have. Every day, as we become more and more independent, as we feel more and more independent, this feeling of love towards your parents, it does not annihilate. It does not disappear. It simply goes down. As the superficial differences come on the surface, this feeling of love towards your parents, it goes down. This is what is happening. It is there. Only you think very seriously, then this imprint will again come on the surface. And then you will realize that the parents, they are so precious, so precious. Okay. So the point is harsh words. Harsh words. See how much you can refrain. The first step that we take is how much we can refrain from using harsh words towards your parents. Number one. This is so important. Okay, then the next one is idle gossip. Idle gossip? Okay, I'm sure French people don't have time for idle gossip. Right? In some places, people have so much of time. And at the moment 2 or 3 people come together, it's idle gossip. Right? So therefore, I'm the French. I'm sure you have no time for idle gossip, right? Okay, that no need to discuss. Then the 3 mental. 3 mental. Okay, one is the ill will. Number 2 is covetousness. Number 3 is wrong will. Ill will is where the wanting to harm others. Wanting to harm others. That is wanting to harm others. Believe it or not, we all want the maximum happiness. Maximum happiness, practically speaking, we should learn how to be practical. We should learn how to be practical. Practically speaking, the maximum happiness will come to you through the maximum love towards others. The maximum love is severed by the ill will. One to harm others is the one which severs, which cuts the love for others. The love for others is cut, the root of your infinite happiness is cut. This is a self-destruction. So ill will is simply the greatest of the sign of the blindness, the greatest of the sign of the weakness, greatest of the sign of the self-destruction. Ill will. Anger towards others. This is the greatest of the sign of the self-destruction. We are putting effort so that I'll have a little more comfortable life. I'll be mentally a little more happy. This is what we are putting effort, and one moment of ill will simply severs, destroys all these virtues to make you happy. In other words, one moment of ill will simply severs your happiness. This is the greatest of the self-destruction. And then next one is covetousness. Covetousness is not just a desire. It's a desire, longing for the possessions possessed by others. For example, if you go to a shop, then if you see you have to buy a mobile, you have to buy a cup, you buy clothes or whatever, and okay, this is nice. This is not covetousness. Covetousness is somebody, so they say the mug, cup, a place, car, whatever, already owned by somebody else. That you crave, that is covetousness. Because that is the cause of all the disharmony in the world. Cause of disharmony among the people. For example, in the olden times, wars are fought. They see a good place is found. Oh, that's a good place, we need to have it. It's actually owned by some other people. And then they try to annex that, and then the wars are fought. This is all covetousness. That is on the more large scale. And on the small scale, say the covetousness pertaining to, for example, say fighting over. So okay, these are the problems. For example, say the relationships, affairs with somebody else's husband, somebody else's wife, and so forth. This is all covetousness. And look, because of this, all the disharmony, jealousy, then the total, say the fights, conflicts, all this is happening because of the covetousness. So, to be very honest, what we seek is we seek the maximum happiness and the covetousness, ill will. They all destroy your own happiness. So what we learned earlier was that sound of clap. We all look for happiness outside. Somebody said it yesterday. Who was that? We're looking for happiness outside. Somebody said it. Who was that? Yes. Sophie? Okay, we look for happiness outside. This is where we're going wrong. When we don't realize that actual happiness is coming from within. When we don't realize this, we always look for happiness outside, then all these problems invariably arise. No happiness is just the cause of the destruction of your own happiness. This is the greatest of the unwise, the unwiseness. And then finally, the wrong view. Wrong view. Wrong view meaning, say, the good things that you do, happiness follows. Bad actions, bad thoughts, negative sufferings follow. This conviction is the law of nature. This is not what the Buddha created. This was what the Buddha discovered. This was the law of nature. and disbelieving in this law of nature and then engaging all kinds of negativities, expecting good things to happen. This is the wrong view. The wrong view is the basis for all the non-virtues. So therefore, these 10 non-virtues are something which which even without philosophy we know that these are something not to be engaged in. Okay, with this in mind, say even those people, say the Christians, Muslims, Jains, or anybody who is following any religion, or anybody who is not believing in anything, or Buddhists, in every community we see that they are very, very decent people. In every religion we say that they are very decent people who naturally refrain from these 10 non-virtuous actions. They don't need somebody to teach them. They are very decent people. Even those people who are not at all educated, but look at how they lead their life. They lead such a pure life, refraining from the 10 non-virtuous actions. So we, after learning all these things, of course, it's so important for us to take steps to refrain from the 10 non-virtuous actions. This step we have to take. Okay, so this is how, until we take these steps to see emptiness is next to the impossibility. Without seeing emptiness, what we are seeking is the fearlessness. Fearlessness is impossible. Okay, for that matter, we need to to gain conviction in this. I'd like to share with you one example. The example is, say, in France, is there the ocean? Huh? What ocean? Atlantic Ocean. Okay, say on the beach or the beach, say sometimes there are some ferocious waves, and if you want to see the waterbed, meaning the floor of where the water is, the floor on the beach. Same, if you want to see the water bed. Say if there's a very ferocious waves on the surface, can you expect to see the bed now? Impossible. So if you really want to see the bed down there, the waves must come to an end. These waves, ferocious waves, they are the metaphor for our negative karmas. Negative karmas must be stopped to the best you can. Without that, all what we study about emptiness, ultimate reality, true truths, the Heart Sutra form is empty, emptiness form, they will all become just pure intellectual. You will not experience the nectar of these wisdoms. So for that matter, first the waves must be stopped. These waves are the metaphor for our negative karmas. Negative karmas, somehow we have to refrain, minimize, mitigate, and try to abandon eventually. Number one. Once the waves are stopped, then what happens? Then you will see the remnants of the wave, the bubbles inside the water. The bubbles. Then next one is remove the bubbles. Likewise, after the waves are stopped, negative karmas are stopped, then you see that these negative karmas are driven by the bubble like the afflictions. Afflictions, they create the waves. So the bubbles, after subduing the waves, then you will see the bubbles. As long as the bubbles are not tackled, again you cannot see the purity of the water. You cannot see the purity of the water. So the bubbles must be stopped. That is, stopping the, what is next? After contaminated karmas, what is next? Gross afflictions. Gross afflictions predominantly attachment and aversion. Along with the attachment, then the craving and so forth are there. Then with aversion, then the jealousy and so forth. All these things are there. So these are the two main factors. So these two, try to remove these two to the best you can. To the best you can. For example, for the attachment of, say, external objects, I think you can think about the impermanence. And for the attachment of the people, you can think about the impurity nature of the people and so forth. And then for the aversion, practice compassion. Aversion will be over. Okay, so, and then for the arrogance, haughtiness, arrogance, the meditation on the dependent origination. Dependent origination, this arrogance will be subsided. And then also the multiplicity of the realities, multiplicity of the things that exist in this universe. You see that I don't know anything. Okay, at one point, so this is amazing. What happened was that after the Geshe degree studies, then I went to the Gueshe college for 1 year, studied Tantra. So we got a broad picture of Tantra, all these things. After studying this, okay, then I had a feeling that, okay, I know Tantra. Then I was in Ladakh. And then in Ladakh, I saw one statue. On the statue, on the legs of the statue of the one deity, I think Aruteshvara statue, on the clothes, all the innumerable the mandalas were depicted, and I just looked at this mandala, I see that I could not even identify these mandalas. Where is that feeling that I know Tantra? I don't know anything of these. That feeling of a little bit of I wouldn't say it is like arrogant, but feeling of inflation that I know something. It simply went down. I do not know anything of Tantra. So that came to me, which means that when you see the diversity of the phenomena, the multiplicity of the phenomena, the plurality of the phenomena, multiplicity, then your ego goes down. The arrogance goes down. Okay, so there are various practices. The point is that we can identify what the afflictions are, those afflictions are, and then you apply the respective remedies to overcome them. This is one thing. If you don't do that, impossible to see when the bubbles inside the water. When the bubbles are not taken care of, it is impossible to see the purity of the water. If you really want to see the purity of the water, first the bubbles, remnants of these waves must be brought to an end. Once the bubbles are gone, once the gross afflictions are gone, what is left? Inappropriate attention is left. Inappropriate attention, it is like the tiny sand particles. After the bubbles are gone, you look at it very carefully, then you see that there are very tiny sand particles there. Very tiny sand particles are there. These tiny sand particles are to be removed. Only then you will see the true nature of the water. You will see the water, the real water there. Likewise, you will see what the self-grasping ignorance is. Only then you can see the self-grasping ignorance. So, if you really want to see what the self-grasping ignorance is, and then accordingly you want to get rid of the self-grasping ignorance, we must put effort to get rid of the negative karmas first, followed by the minimizing the gross afflictions, then minimizing the inappropriate attention. So all the earlier methods, all the earlier remedies that we applied, they are meant to mitigate the power of the contaminated karmas, gross afflictions, inappropriate attention. And these methods which we employed earlier, they will not eradicate these causes from the root. But these are invariably, or these are the indispensably required practices. Without these, it's impossible to realize emptiness. Okay, with these then you can you can see what is self-grasping ignorance is. The moment you identify what is self-grasping ignorance is, then we can think of getting rid of this by applying the wisdom of emptiness. Okay, this is how we should proceed. So, this is a very important ground for to know how our mind works. How our mind works in a very destructive way, and how we can undo this destructive operations of the mind. Undo that to achieve nirvana or the state of fearlessness. Okay. So with this, now we're going to go into the four seals. Four seals is say in a way what we see is that how do we know that you know the Buddha Dharma well or the teachings of the Buddha well? Is that any teachings you come across, you see that they are all intertwined. If you see them as discrete teachings, which means that you have not yet understood the Buddha's teachings. 10:30. No. Okay. So the Buddha's teachings, how do we know that we really understood the Buddha's teachings? Is that any teaching that you come across, any teachings, somehow you are able to connect them, intertwine them seamlessly, that they are connected. Okay. Now I'm going to touch the four seals, which we're going to use as the meditation for the genuine renunciation in the modern practices. Okay. The four seals. They are only just the four lines, which are referred to as the four seals of the Buddha's teachings, or four seals. And the Theravada practitioners, the teaching, in the Pali Canon, you see only three, the first three, not the fourth. Only the first three. There's no difference, it's just the same. And it is a job of the scholars to distinguish, these two are different, in Theravada teaching, Manajim, they're different. Their job is to look for differences. But from the point of view of the practitioner, there's no difference. It's just the same. Same. Mahayana only added the resultant state. Theravada included only the causal state. Causal state, how to bring the nirvana. What are the causes to bring the nirvana? These three causes are included there. Whereas the Mahayana included the resultant state also. Three causal state plus the resultant state. That makes the four. Therefore, just the four seals. Okay. Now, these four teachings. Number one, all composite things are impermanent. All composite things are impermanent. Number two, all contaminated things are of suffering nature. All contaminated things are of suffering nature. Number three, everything is of nature of emptiness and selflessness. Everything is of the nature of emptiness and selflessness. Number four, transcending sorrow is absolute peace. Transcending sorrow is absolute peace. Okay. Some variations are there, particularly number three. Number three, which we said, everything is of the nature of emptiness and selflessness. Whereas in some of the sutras, you'll mention everything is the nature of this selflessness. Only selflessness given there. And in this book, which page is that? Page 7. Okay. Friends, okay, page 7. You see that number 3, all phenomena are the nature of selflessness. I don't know. So therefore, this book, say I compiled this but there are so many editors. So many editors. And every time I come, again there's something new. This emptiness disappeared. I don't know how this emptiness disappeared from this. Right? So you should add this emptiness. But in some of the sutras, this emptiness is not there. In some sutras, emptiness is there. So we should know that both versions are correct, but I would prefer the one with emptiness. Okay. And in the Pali Canon, the sutras which were being studied primarily by the Theravada practitioners or Theravada scholars. So only the first three are there, the last one is not there. The last one is the resultant state. If you practice the first three, then what's the result? The result is that your sorrow will dissolve. You will transcend your sorrow. You will transcend your sorrow and you will experience the absolute peace, the fearlessness. This is the result. Okay. With this, what is very important is the teaching on this is important. Those of us from last year, I'm not too sure if I shared this with you last time, but for sure, those of you coming here for the first time, this will be very helpful. On the Buddha Shakyamuni, all the teachings that Buddha Shakyamuni gave can be classified into three groups, known as the three turnings of the wheel of Dharma. Three turnings of the wheel of Dharma. And the first turning, primarily the first turning, for all these three, what we need to know is we need to know three things with each of the three teachings. One is the place where the teaching was given, the place. Number two is the target audience of the teaching, to whom the teaching was given, number two. Number three, what's the content matter of the teaching, subject matter of the teaching. Two things. First teaching, first turning wheel of Dharma, the place is Varanasi or Sarnath. Sarnath is within Varanasi. The place is Varanasi. And then the target audience. To know the target audience, we need to know the four Buddhist philosophical schools. We need to know these four schools. Okay. And in any ways, from after the second session, we need to know these four schools. Right? Four schools. Number one, Vaibhashika. Okay. It may sound technical, particularly for those of us who are a little new. Don't worry. Just pay attention, and if you can note them down. If not, just pay attention to this. This is not at all difficult. When you first hear this, these words are very alien. You may find it very difficult. It's not difficult at all. It's just a matter of habituation. Number one is Vaibhashika. One school. V-A-I, Ba, B-H-A-S-H-I-K-A. Vaibhashika. Vaiba, S-S-H-I-K-A, Vaibhashika, the first school. Number two, Sautantrika school. S-A-U, T-A-N-T-R-I-K-A, S-A-U-T-A-N-T-R-I-K-A, Sautantrika school, number two. Number three, mind-only school. Number three, mind-only school. Mind only is only the mind only school. And if you want to know the Sanskrit word, it is Chittamatra. The Sanskrit word for the mind only school is Chittamatra. C-H-I-T-T-A-M-A-T-R-A. Chittamatra. Mind only school. Finally, the middle way school. In Sanskrit, you want to know the Sanskrit word? Madhyamika, M-A-D-H-M-A-D-H-Y-A, Madhya, M-I-K-A, Madhyamika school. Okay, these 4 schools. And these 4 schools, how we put in order? What's the first one? What's the first school? Vaibhashika school. Number 2, Sautantrika school. Number 3, mind only or Chittamatra. Number 4, middle way school or Madhyamika school. Middle way school or Madhyamika school, same. 4. And for the order, I put the order in such a way that progressively the philosophy is becoming subtler. Progressively it's becoming subtler. The first one is very gross, second one is subtler, third one is even subtler, fourth one is subtlest. This order must not be missed. This order is very important. The sequence. Okay. Now, having known this, we talk about the 3 wheels of life. The first one, the place where the first wheel of life was taught, Varanasi. And the target audience, of the 4 philosophical the schools, those following the first and second school. Those beings who are following the first school, Vaibhashika and Sautantra school, these 2 are the target audience of the first teaching that happened in Varanasi. Okay. And what's the subject matter of the teaching? The 4 noble truths. 4 noble truths, the subject matter. Subject matter of the first 10 wheel of Dharma, first teaching the Buddha gave is on 4 noble truths. Okay. First 10 wheel of Dharma, what's the place? Varanasi. What's the target audience? Who are the target audience? Vaibhashika and Sautantrika. What is the subject matter? 4 noble truths. Very good. Second turn wheel of Dharma. Second turn wheel of Dharma, the place is Rajgir. Rajgir. R-A-J-G-H-I-R. Raj. R-A-J. Raj. Gir. G-H-I-R. Rajgir. Okay, that's a place. And target audience is the number 4. Number 4 philosophy school. What's number 4? Madhyamika or the middle way school. Target audience. Then the subject matter is the emptiness of true existence. Emptiness of true existence. Emptiness of true existence / emptiness of, okay, the emptiness of true existence or the characteristiclessness. Characteristiclessness. Okay, what is that? Don't worry, this is what for. The whole 8 days is for that purpose. Whole 9 days is for that purpose. Characteristiclessness. In other words, empty of characteristics. Okay, number 3. So what happened was that, okay, okay, you are making me run so fast. Thank you. Okay, so what happened was that, say the people who were to attend, who were to benefit by the Buddha, these people are of 3 kinds. One, who are in terms of mental intelligence, one less intelligent, one super intelligent, number 2 the mediocre. The first teaching was given to the less intelligent one, Vaibhashika and Sautantrika. So in Varanasi, the Buddha taught the 4 noble truths, and the Vaibhashika and Sautantrika, they listened to the teaching, they were very happy, they left. Then the second place, what is the second turning? In the first turning, the Buddha taught the what? What did the Buddha teach? 4 noble truths. The Buddha taught the 4 noble truths, saying that all the 4 noble truths exist truly. Exist truly. Then the second turning of Dharma in Rajgir. Who is the target audience? So the remaining people are there. Chittamatra, Madhyamika, all are there, but the target audience was Madhyamika, middle way philosophers. So there the Buddha taught nothing exists truly. Right? So the Madhyamikas, they were very happy they left. Right? In the second turn of Dharma, Buddha said nothing exists truly. Characteristic lesson, no true characteristics. Empty of true characteristics. So the Madhyamika philosophers, they are so happy they left. Who's left now? Who's left? Only Chittamadhuri left. So Chittamadhuri, they are the mediocre, average intelligence. So they were confused. First teaching of Buddha said, everything is truly. Four Noble Truths exist truly. Second Noble of Dharma, Buddha said, nothing exists truly. So they were confused. Then the one Bodhisattva, third Noble of Dharma. Third Noble of Dharma. Okay, again, I don't remember his name in Sanskrit. In Tibetan, you Tundamyandapa. Pramata. Okay, so his name is. Okay, the third Noble of Dharma is very interesting. What happened was that third Noble of Dharma was that the place was Vaishali. Place was Vaishali. V-A-I-S-H-A-L-I, Vaishali. Then what happened in Vaishali? The Buddha presided over the congregation. Then the group was a huge group of bodhisattvas, and the monks, nuns, and lay devotees. Amongst them, what happened was that the 10 bodhisattvas, the extremely high level bodhisattvas like Manjushri, Maitreya, Avalokiteshvara, these bodhisattvas on the 10 level who are on the verge to become enlightened, they asked 10 different questions to the Buddha. Okay, I forgot it. Okay, so the 10 bodhisattvas, they asked 10 different questions, and the Buddha responded to this, and particularly the question asked by the bodhisattva Tundamyandapa. Okay, particularly this question asked by Tundamyandapa, that is related to what we talk about the three turns of Dharma. So the question that he asked was very interesting. He stood up, paid respect to the Buddha Shakyamuni, and then asked this question, that the Buddha Shakyamuni, during the first turning wheel of Dharma, you said that the Four Noble Truths exist? Truly. Then, whereas in the Raj gear, during the second turning wheel of Dharma, you said nothing exists truly. And then you are the fully awakened one. For sure, you are not confused. But this is a great confusion for the people. So on behalf of them, I'm asking you this question. So what made the Buddha, in the first turning wheel of Dharma, say that the Four Noble Truths exist truly? What made the Buddha to say in the second turning wheel of Dharma that nothing exists truly? What is your true intention? This was the question asked. Then the Buddha interpreted his own teachings. That came to be known as the third turning wheel of Dharma, related in the context of the first and the second turning wheel of Dharma. So, third turning wheel of Dharma, the place is Vaishali, and the target audience is Chittamatra, mind-only school, philosophers, target audience. And the subject matter of the teaching is known as the wheel of Dharma of distinguishing. Wheel of Dharma of distinguishing. Distinguishing, what is meant by when first turning wheel of Dharma, when the Buddha said everything exists, the Four Noble Truths exist truly, what did it mean? He distinguished that from the second turning wheel of Dharma when the Buddha said nothing exists truly. So he distinguished these two teachings. That is known as the teaching on the distinguishing the characteristics. Distinguishing the characteristics. Okay. So these are the four the three turns wheel of Dharma. And now precisely when you talk about the Four Noble Truths, the four seals. there's more. Okay, again, this is a very beautiful way of how His Holiness the Dalai Lama said. The first journey we go to Dharma, Buddha laid the ground for all these teachings on Four Noble Truths. What are the Four Noble Truths? Anybody? Four Noble Truths? Okay, raise hands, raise hands. What are the Four Noble Truths? Raise your hands. Raise your hands. Raise your hands. Martin? What are the Four Noble Truths? Paramat Samudgata. Paramat Samudgata, I think. Yeah, Paramat Samudgata. Bodhisattva, Tundamyadapa in Sanskrit, I think it's Paramat Samudgata. Yeah, Paramat Samudgata. Okay, note it down. Next time I may ask you again. Right, you have to remind me. He's the one. Paramarth Samudgata. Okay. What are the Four Noble Truths? Raise hands. Yes. Sophie?
There's suffering. There is cause of suffering.
Truth of suffering.
Truth of suffering. Truth of the causes of suffering.
Yes.
Truth of cessation of suffering.
Yes.
Truth of the path to lead to the cessation.
Very good. Okay, the Four Noble Truths. Then, if the need be, I'll go into little detail later on. Not now. Okay, how many of you never heard about Four Noble Truths before? Raise hands. Okay, how many of you never heard about Four Noble Truths before? Okay, the Jain, and then the okay. Jerome, yes. Okay, I noted down in my notebook. Jerome. Okay, the Jane and Jerome. Who else? Okay, Amina? Anyone else?
Masarif para retenir.
I cannot remember.
Okay, so Dominic studied that, not remembering. Okay, it doesn't matter. So what I would say is that okay, somebody should volunteer to help. Maybe, okay, Venerable Sosana will help Amina, right? Okay, then who's going to help Jane? Okay, there. We have Mary helping Jane, and then somebody has to help Jerome. Somebody, okay, yes, over there. Laura will help Jerome. Very good. Four Noble Truths. Now everyone's taken care of. Okay, with this, Four Noble Truths. What the Four Noble Truths are. So this, we need to have them on the fingertips. So how the Buddha taught the Four Noble Truths. This is very important. How the Buddha taught the Four Noble Truths. This is known as the 12, the teaching of the Four Noble Truths with 12 recitations. 12 recitations / repetitions. They can be two different translations. The teaching of the Four Noble Truths with 12 recitations / repetitions. Repeating the Four Noble Truths or reciting the Four Noble Truths. And these 12, the 12 are split into 3 sets. 3 sets of 4. 3 into 4 is 12. 3 sets of 4 teachings on Four Noble Truths. The first set is the set of teaching on Four Noble Truths, set of teaching on Four Noble Truths pertaining to identification. The set of teaching on Four Noble Truths pertaining to identification, number 1. Number 2, set of teaching on Four Noble Truths pertaining to the practice associated with the Four Noble Truths. Number 1, let me say it again. Number 1, a set of 4 teachings on the Four Noble Truths, or set of teaching on Four Noble Truths pertaining to identification. Number 2, the set of teachings on Four Noble Truths pertaining to the practice associated with the Four Noble Truths. practice associated with the Four Noble Truths. And finally, set of the teachings on Four Noble Truths pertaining to the results along with the practice associated with the Four Noble Truths. Number 3, the teaching on Four Noble Truths pertaining to the results associated with the practice of the Four Noble Truths. Okay. The first set. What's the first set? Set of teaching on Four Noble Truths pertaining to the identification. So there is very simple. What the Buddha taught was, this is the truth of the suffering. This is the truth of the cause of suffering. This is the truth of the cessation of suffering. This is the truth of the path leading to cessation. The Buddha simply identified what the Four Noble Truths are. What's the second set? What's the second set?
La pratique.
Maria?
Oui, l'ensemble de la pratique des quatre nobles vérités.
The set of the four the truth linked with the practice of the
Practice associated Four Noble Truths. Thank you. Okay. So what? So after identifying these Four Noble Truths, so what should I practice? Then the Buddha said. Then the Buddha taught the second set of teachings. The truth of suffering is to be identified. The truth of the cause of suffering is to be abandoned. Truth of the cessation of suffering is to be actualized. Truth of the path leading to cessation is to be meditated upon. Let me say this again. The truth of the suffering is to be identified. The truth of the cause of suffering is to be abandoned. The truth of the cessation is to be actualized. Truth of the path leading to cessation should be meditated upon. Okay, this is the second set. What's the third set?
results.
Okay. The teaching of the Four Noble Truths pertain to the results along with the practice. Okay. The Buddha taught, although the truth of suffering is to be identified, there's nothing to be identified. Although the truth of the suffering is to be identified, there's nothing to be identified. Number 2, although the cause of suffering is to be abandoned, there's nothing to be abandoned. Number 3, although the cessation of suffering is to be actualized, there's nothing to be actualized. And then finally, although the path leading to cessation is to be meditated upon, there's nothing to be meditated upon. This is what the Buddha taught. Okay, the first set of the 4 is easy, not really easy. Okay, okay, fine. So the 3 of us, the 3 will help the Marina, the Jane, and Jerome. Okay, so we will help them pertaining to the first one. What is the truth of suffering? How many classes? What classifications? What are the divisions? What is the truth of cause of suffering? What are the divisions? What is the truth of the cessation? The 5 parts. No, the cessation is fine. Then what is the truth of the path during cessation of the 5 parts? Okay, these are things that we need to learn, the 3 of you. Then second set, the truth of suffering is to be identified. What should we practice? What should we practice pertaining to the Four Noble Truths? With the first truth, your job is to identify what the truth of suffering is. Suffering, what we identified as suffering, the manifest suffering, this is very gross. There are subtler versions of suffering. 3 kinds of suffering. Suffering, suffering change, all pervasive condition suffering, or pervasive condition suffering. These 2 are there. And particularly what they say, when the Buddha said suffering is to be identified, the Buddha meant the third one, pervasive conditioned suffering. So these, the 3 of them should be introduced. Okay. The next one is the truth of the cause of suffering is to be abandoned. knowing that these are the suffering and identify what the cause of suffering are, you have to abandon the cause of suffering to stop this suffering. And then the truth of cessation is to be actualized. And the truth of the actualized meaning that you have to achieve that state. Achieve the state when the suffering should cease. When the suffering ceases. And then to achieve that state, you have to practice meditate on the path which leads to this cessation. Okay. What is number 3?
The results.
The results. And what was the teaching given?
Although the truth of suffering has to be identified, there's nothing to be really
Very
identified.
good. Although the truth of suffering is to be identified, there's nothing to be identified. Okay. So this teaching, this is the teaching. To understand this, we have to see this teaching in two different connotations. One, in the context of the conventional truth. Other, in the context of the ultimate truth. One in the context of conventional truth, and the other in the context of the ultimate truth. In the conventional context, you have the gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhi, swaha. When you reach the bodhi, swaha level of the 5 paths, what are the 5 paths? Path of accumulation, path of preparation, path of seeing, path of meditation, path of noble learning, the 5 paths. Okay. So the path of accumulation, path of preparation, path of seeing, path of meditation, path of noble learning. Okay, when you reach the path of noble learning, you don't have to learn anything because your job is done. You've already accomplished what you have to attain. Because you have already done your job, initially, while you're following the first 4 paths, you have to identify the suffering. Now that you reach the path of the resultant state, the path of noble learning, there's nothing left for you to identify anything. So, although the suffering is to be identified, there's nothing to be identified as suffering for you now. Because you have already achieved the final result. Likewise, number 2, although the cause of suffering is to be abandoned, there's nothing to be abandoned because you've already abandoned everything. Right? Likewise, although the what? Although the cessation is to be actualized, there's nothing left for you to be actualized because everything is actualized. Finally,
Although it's supposed to be meditated
although the
upon.
path is to be meditated upon, there's nothing left for you to meditate upon because you've already meditated on everything. Okay, this is in the context of the conventional sense. Now in the ultimate sense, in the ultimate context, in the context of ultimate truth, although the suffering is to be identified, meaning although the suffering is to be identified conventionally, in the ultimate sense there's nothing to be identified. Although the suffering is to be identified, there's nothing to be identified. Meaning, although suffering is to be identified conventionally, but ultimately there's nothing to be identified. Although the truth of suffering is to be abandoned conventionally, but in the ultimate sense, there's nothing to be abandoned. And then number 3. Although the cessation is to be actualized conventionally, but there's nothing to be actualized ultimately. Finally, although the path leading to cessation is to be meditated upon conventionally, but ultimately there's nothing to be meditated upon. So that is in the context of the 2 truths. Okay. Good. We'll stop here for tea break. Yata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhi Swatyata Om Gati Gati
Two positions.